Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's your boy Crander Hugh, aka my real name. Welcome to the next episode of Friends of the Squared Circle, where I'm your host. And if you haven't already heard, we've got hats with my beautiful face on there. Yes, we do. We also have to acknowledge Randy here for getting the most views, which I hate. But, we'll talk about Amy later. Randy, take a shot. We're starting off hot. And let's get our sponsors out of the way here. Go ahead and give Darren Corbin a like on social media at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Oh, and Darren Corbin is on TikTok. Yes, Darren Corbin's on TikTok. Check him out at patreon.com/Darren Corbin. Darren's going through an injury right now. Anything you could do to help would be greatly appreciated. So give Darren a like there and a follow. Abby, how you doing today?
I'm great. I got my
Perfect.
Riley shirt since all you guys always just slam him on this show, so I have to represent.
Yeah, and we've talked before that I love Riley, but he's a lower on the card, so I have to boo him before I cheer for him. So if you don't know, in the past episode, we mentioned that Chad is going to be co-host. Abby's going to be joining us here sporadically as well as a co-host. And today we have our guest, Free Range Kara. How you doing today, Kara?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing great. It's actually my birthday today. So
happy birthday.
I'm ascending to level 37. I'm not ashamed to say that number because once I get to 40, I'm stopped counting because that's when everything goes downhill. So I got a beautiful big red beard. Today's a good day. So no compliments? Okay. Just kidding. All right. So we'll just jump right into it, Kara. What got you into wrestling?
The funny thing with me in wrestling is everything that's happened to me, like in wrestling, has kind of happened by accident.
Okay.
Like I didn't grow up as a wrestling fan. For the first 16 years of my life, I didn't watch wrestling because I always heard, "Oh, it's fake. Don't watch that. It's fake." But one time, my sister and I were watching the USA Network. I think probably Law and Order SVU because that's what you do at 15 years old, 16 years old. And we saw that coming on afterwards was Monday Night Raw. So we're like, oh, we've heard about this before. We've heard how fake it is. Let's watch it. Let's see how fake it is. And I don't remember if this is the first episode I watched, but it's the one that I remember. It opens up with R-Truth and John Morrison, circa 2011. R-Truth has a title shot against John Cena at the next pay-per-view. John Morrison comes out and is like, "Hey, we're friends. Why don't we, as friends, have a match and put your number one contenders ship on the line?" And John Morrison wins. Spoiler alert. And R-Truth loses his mind. This is the start of crazy little Jimmy R-Truth.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, and I have this vivid memory of R-Truth smacks John Morrison with this water bottle and then smokes a cigarette. And I was like, what am I watching? What is this? And then I was watching it every week, I guess.
So during that time period, I believe you said John Cena at the next pay-per-view there. So that was probably the infamous, Super Cena days. Was there anybody that stuck out to you that kind of got you excited to see each week to week after starting to watch it?
Obviously, I just started out watching wrestling, so of course I was a big fan of John Cena.
Okay.
But the CM Punk Randy Orton feud was just coming to an end at that point. This is right after WrestleMania 27.
Okay.
I remember because me and my sister went and bought WrestleMania 27 after we watched a couple episodes because all they would do was show replays from 27. It's why don't we just buy the DVD? And yeah, Randy Orton and CM Punk was big because she loved Randy Orton and I loved CM Punk. So it was a fun little bonding.
So what was it about Orton CM Punk that got you interested in him? Was it his mannerisms, his moves? What kind of drew you to him?
Well, it started off with the fact that he did not look like what I thought a wrestler was supposed to look like.
Okay,
makes sense. You see the Bob Backlunds, the Bruno Sammartinos, they all have that very stereotypical Dorito-shaped top and their simple little trunks and short hair and everything. And CM Punk just looked different, full of tattoos, the facial hair, the lip ring. It was oh, this guy's really different. And yeah, and then that was like right before the summer of Punk, so he was cutting like some fire promos
Okay, yep,
right away, and it was like, oh wow, look at this guy go.
gotcha. Abby, anything? Feel free to jump in
Yeah,
wherever. So
so, like,
we're working our group here, so
since you started like watching like later on, like 2011-ish, have you ever like kind of gone back to like older stuff to kind of see like what you missed when you weren't watching wrestling? Or are you just kind of good where you're at?
Yeah, I did go back and watch a couple of older stuff. For my high school graduation, my best friend bought me the first 20 or 22 WrestleManias in a box set.
nice.
So
It's a good friend right there.
we made this tradition while we were in college that we'd try to watch a WrestleMania a day leading up to the next WrestleMania,
Okay.
which was a lot easier than it would be now. But
Oh,
yeah, back when I was only doing like I think we started it at 28 or 29 is when we started that tradition. So you just had to get through 28 WrestleManias, and now it's like almost 40.
well, and
Yeah.
those WrestleManias weren't 6 hours long either.
Yeah. Like I think I watched the first 3 WrestleManias in one afternoon because it was really like a total of 6 hours. It was
Yeah,
great.
yeah, it wasn't bad.
Yeah, I used to do something like that, but it was more I would just pick one match. That way I could just remember like the marquee or the one that stuck out the most.
Uh-huh.
And I'll always watch WrestleMania 30 with Daniel Bryan and Triple H. Like just that yes movement. Like I'm getting goosebumps now talking about it because that was like what really got me into Daniel Bryan. But that match was just like a roller coaster of emotions for me because I didn't know if they were actually going to let him go to the main event to fight with Orton and Batista. So I'm really glad it went the way it did. But yeah, that was one match that really sticks out from that. So
yeah, WrestleMania 30, I was actually there for. I was in New Orleans, and it was insane. That crowd energy is nothing I've ever felt before. And like, especially leading off of, Brock Lesnar defeating The Undertaker, like the crowd was
yes, that's right. Yeah.
Like ravenous. Like if Daniel Bryan did not win in the main event, I do not know what would have happened. Like I was kind of afraid.
Yeah, that I forgot all about Brock beating Taker at that one. Yeah. So what was your first live event? I'm assuming it wasn't just WrestleMania, the first one. So
no,
what was it
definitely
like?
not.
Did you go to like any indie shows? Did you go to like just like a Raw taping or a live show?
Yeah, I'd been to just a couple. My very first like live event was actually TNA back in, I think it was December of 2012. They came to Fargo, and that's where I saw my very first live women's match. Was Tara, aka Victoria, and ODB, which was cool because later on in my career I actually got to wrestle with them. So like it's a full circle thing for me.
Right.
But yeah, that was the first time I saw Jeff Hardy live. I saw they weren't the Dudley Boys at that point. They were on separate sides of the same issue. And I think James Storm was there. There was Austin Aries. We had DJ Z before he was DJ Z. Rob Van Dam was there. Like, nice. And my dad like got us like the whole like meet and greet experience thing. Like if you bought like front row tickets, you also got to like go down the autograph line and they'd autograph your book that you bought. And
yeah, actually,
really fun experience.
My first live event was also a TNA event in like 2011, I want to say. Mm-hmm. And we also did like the full experience meet and greet thing. And it was definitely worth it.
Yeah.
Because actually I saw Angelina Love and Madison Rayne was my first match. But yeah, I loved TNA back in that time because like they did put on really great shows and you were allowed to meet everybody, talk to people. Madison Rayne was like the sweetest person that I had ever met. And I was so surprised because she was so mean on TV. And I was like, wow, like she's even like she's so nice. And I was not expecting it.
Yeah, you mentioned Tara. I remember her when I was growing up because I feel like she was ahead of her time. Like if she was in today's product, I feel like she would be just one step ahead of the girls today, just because Natalie and Beth Phoenix were wrestlers, versus the junk that was the Attitude Era of the model age, in my opinion. But that is very cool that you got to like see this person wrestle when you were younger, and then fast forward to it's probably been 3 years now since you guys wrestled. Or no?
Maybe 4.
4, okay.
Yeah.
Because I know there was at Nitro, you guys were in the ring together, if I remember correctly.
Victoria was our special guest referee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is something I would probably brag to the moon about. Like, hey, like, see this person here? I watched them as a kid, and now look at this picture. I'm standing in the ring with them. So
yeah, and legit, Victoria is the nicest person that I've ever met in wrestling. Like, you'll hear it from literally everybody, but like, she is the nicest person in the world. And after all these years of being in wrestling and not being bitter about it, like, she's like a unicorn.
Yeah, she was so great. Like I talked to her quite a bit at the after party, a little bit at FanFest. But I had actually met her, heavy on wrestling in Tower, and she remembered me, and she was like starting to go on about, how she's still getting coupons from the casino, and then she wanted to call ODB to come to the after party, but ODB wasn't there. It's a whole thing, but it was great.
Yeah, the first thing that she said when we were backstage, like when she walked in, she goes, "You cut your hair." And I was like, "You remember my hair?"
Right. Yeah.
It's been so long, and she's just so amazing. I could never say a negative thing about her. She's literally amazing.
Yes, I agree.
I mean, I will have to say one negative thing because I had a sign. This is before Amy. Randy, take a shot. That's a little inside joke on our podcast here. I had a sign that said, "Will you marry me?" And she slid out of the ring, grabbed it, ripped it up, and threw it back at me. So, and then I saw her the year that I went down to WrestleMania in Tampa, and I told her she still owes me 60 cents for that sign, and she gave me a bunch of little, like, her promo cards with the next show she was going to be on. So I was like, all right, your debt is paid in full. So yeah, she is definitely kind of like what Abby mentioned about like somebody being so mean on TV, but just like a sweetheart. So yeah, Tara definitely needs to go in that Hall of Fame. She's just, class act for sure. So since we're on the topic of women's wrestling, is there anyone in that division? Sorry if I'm misspeaking here, calling it division. Is there anybody that stood out in the women's side that you really gravitated towards?
Like on the independents or like WWE, AEW kind of
Just
stuff?
anywhere that like you're a fan of,
I'm really a big fan of Kiera Hogan. I think she's awesome.
Yes.
I would love to work Jade Cargill.
Okay.
I just think it's really awesome to see how she's kind of taking the AEW division by storm. Of course, there's amazing people in WWE. I worked Cora Jade when she was on the independents.
Yep.
I had one match with Gigi Dolan. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep.
And, there's just so many talented women, especially like nowadays. Like everywhere you go, you can find someone who's really good.
Yeah, definitely. Like, like someone who is aspiring to be a wrestler, like for me instantly, if I tried, I mean, just, it's such a big market now. But same with the women now, like before it'd be just, a few, but just how much talent is out there is just so great because you never know who you're going to discover. You never know who you're going to see. Like you mentioned Cora Jade. Like I was just ecstatic just to see her finally wrestle because she was all over Chicago. And then she came up to Duluth, and I believe you guys had that 4-way match or that tag match.
Yeah.
With Hogan and Valkyrie, and I'm so excited to finally get my picture with her. And then like fast forward, now she's in WWE doing amazing things, and she's so prominent on their NXT brand, which is great. So
yeah.
There is one heavy on thing I want to ask you about because it stuck with me forever. So I don't remember exactly what show it was, but you were working as a camera girl, and all of a sudden you disappear, and then you're in a wrestling match because 3 of the women couldn't show up that were supposed to be there. So like, what was that like?
That was one of the craziest moments of my wrestling career. Because I went up there just to be a helping hand. Like, they're like, "Oh, you can do camera." I said, "Oh, okay." And I also had the flu at the time. So like I'm doing like I can hold a camera. Like I can feel kind of icky and also hold a camera. And then I guess what was going on backstage was they realized that only Leva Bates had made it, and the other 3 were stuck in a snowstorm back at Minneapolis. And everyone's running around like, what are we going to do? We don't have any female wrestlers. And Eric Cannon looks at them and goes, "You have one on working the camera." And so they pull me back and they say, "Did you bring your gear?" And I said, "Yeah, it's in my car." And they're like, "Go get it." You have 10 minutes.
Wow.
And then you're going on. And so, run out into the snow, grab my stuff, run back in. Lee was already dressed, ready to go, so I'm like throwing on my gear as fast as I can. And yeah, we went out there. I legit do not remember any bit of this match because I was, borderline delirious with this flu.
Right. Was it like your 12th match or something crazy?
Yeah, it was like, I think it was maybe my 7th match, and it was my very first match in Minnesota. I remember that much.
Wow.
And like getting to have all my the people I trained with were all there. So like all my trainee buddies were there. So like that was a really, really good feeling. I remember that. Yeah. And then I remember passing out backstage. I was like, I'm going to lay down now.
Wow. Yeah, I just remember because like I didn't know who you were because it was like early on, and I was, me and my dad just noticed, oh yeah, there's a camera girl over there, and then she's just gone, and now she's wrestling this match. Like that's craziness.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure it was a great moment in my time, but I legit can't remember much of it.
That's something I guess I've never knew. That's pretty sweet. So nice.
I love how Kenyon vouched for you and got you on the show.
Yeah. Well, like he was one of my trainers, so like he knew that I was there.
Right.
Like, they just need someone to have a quick match. We're gonna crown a champion tonight. Like we can't just not crown a champion. So it's like, yeah, just throw her in there.
Yeah, I respected you so much after that because I'm like, that's crazy. Like to just run out and not even know you're gonna wrestle, and all of a sudden you're in a match.
Honestly, that's one of my favorite things is when I'm not expected to wrestle. Like I bring my gear everywhere, and just in case if I'm not on a show, if they just need somebody, like just quick. It's one of my favorites because I'm having fun at shows anyways. But when they're like, "Hey, do you want to wrestle?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude."
Right. Oh, I love that.
I mean that's just great. So a lot of people who don't know, obviously, now that we have kind of more on the subject that she is a wrestler, we're not really going to unpack your career too much because I figure like every other podcast is going to do that. Was there anyone that you model yourself after in the ring, maybe being gear or move sets or the charisma side that you kind of model yourself after? Any women that you look up to, or the men per se for your style?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, my current gear is actually based off of Marianne from Gilligan's Island, with the plaid top and the jean shorts, which could also be a Daisy Duke thing. But like, I love Marianne. I love Gilligan's Island. And in terms of like charisma, like I always want to channel like an NXT Bailey. Like I just want to be out there having a good time all the time.
Okay.
In terms of moveset, I've taken a lot of moves from Heidi Lovelace or Ruby Soho. I really like the way she moves in the ring. Otherwise, yeah, I kind of just go back and watch old footage and try to find moves that people aren't doing right now because I want to be different. Like for a while, no one was doing I was doing a suplex stunner for a couple matches, and I'll never remember his name, but it was a luchador. I started doing a standing figure 4 leg lock because I posted on Twitter. I was like, what submissions do you think don't get enough like credit or enough like, I can't think of the word I'm looking for, enough presence. And someone was like the standing figure 4. I was like, oh, let me learn that real quick.
That's great.
Or I watched a Tyson Dukes video on, I do like a seated octopus, and I watched him do that. So I was like, oh, let me steal that real quick.
Just steal that real quick. That's great. Abby, anything? I'm just trying to keep bouncing you in here so I don't like overtake the co-host here. So
yeah,
we'll get our groove here eventually. So
one thing that I was like kind of interested about is did you graduate with any women from the academy? Like, was there any other women in your class?
No, I was the only woman in my class. There were a couple who were in classes above me and a couple in classes below me, but to this day, I am the only female graduate.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we got a kitty.
Yeah, that's Ritz. He's my boy. And Butter's down here, too.
Was it, like, hard for you to, like, get onto shows just because, like, the lack of women, like, around the area?
It was kind of either one way or the other. It was either, oh boy, a woman, and they'd like grab you, Or it was, yeah, we only have men here, so we don't have anything for you. And oftentimes it was, we have one other woman, so you're going to wrestle that one other woman every single time.
Right.
Which is cool. Like, if it's a good person, like, I'll wrestle anybody.
Oh, for sure. It's just, I mean, I know that around Minnesota, like, there's not a whole lot of women wrestlers right now. Like, a lot of them are coming in from, Iowa or wherever else. I don't know where Brooke is living now, but when Brooke comes in for you.
Yeah, Brooke is all the way in DC now.
Oh, wow.
So I'm not gonna get to wrestle her as much, which is a shame, because I feel like we have a really good in-ring chemistry. Like, we're a good foil to each other.
Yeah, you guys have a story going. Like, it's it's great. Like, it's perfect because, like you were saying, you're like the perfect opposites. She's loud and rude and everything. I love her though. And then you're just like the sweet little country girl, so it's like perfect.
Yeah. I've been very fortunate in the fact that most of the promotions that I regularly work with are willing to like bring women up instead of just being like, oh, here's the one person you'll wrestle all the time.
Right.
Like, through Higher Ground and through First Wrestling, I've gotten to wrestle so many cool people. And now we have Badger in Minnesota. Now that she's healed up again, I'm hoping to have some more bangers with Badger.
Who have been some of your like favorite girls to work with?
Well, Brooke Valentine, of course. I really like working with Badger. I'm thinking of somebody. I see them in my brain.
Blair Onyx, Sierra.
I haven't wrestled Sierra in so long. Yeah, we used to wrestle all the time. Mm-hmm. I feel like we were also a good foil to each other. Like, I've never had a bad match with her.
She scares me.
Yeah, she should.
She's such a sweetheart too, but like, I just something about her. I feel like she, just scares me.
Yeah, so. I've got a couple singles matches coming up that I'm really looking forward to as well. Like, people that I've been in the ring with, but I've never like wrestled them one-on-one before, so that'll be really fun. Like, I'm having my first one-on-one with Lainey Luck later this month.
That'll be a great one.
Mm-hmm. And obviously anyone who's like worked for the big companies that I get to work with is always cool too, like the Leva Bates, the Kiera Hogan, the Taya Valkyrie. It's always cool to get to work with them as well, because it's like, that's what you want. Like, you need to strive to get to their level, so I'm doing more, and I want to like look good next to them, of course.
Right. Can you like describe what is the atmosphere like working like a Palooza, like First Avenue, just crazy fans? Like, it's gonna be insane.
Mm-hmm.
Us crazy fans.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
the atmosphere. Absolutely, like no one does it better than WrestlePalooza. Like, First Wrestling's WrestlePalooza is the show, and I'm not being paid to say that, I promise. But in a way, working WrestlePalooza is one of the easiest nights of your life once you get used to like the crowd sound, because they pop for anything. You don't have to like work hard to get them to react. They are ready to go.
Yes.
Like, the very first Palooza back after the pandemic started, I've never heard them so loud in my life.
That was the very first one that I went to, and it was insane. I'm like, I'm going to every single one of these here on out now. Like, you can't miss one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, literally nothing like it, and I'm always so happy to be included, whether I'm just back there setting up a ring or whether I'm working a merch table or whether I'm wrestling. Like, I literally can't explain how it's so perfect for me.
It's just such a buzz, like, the entire night. Like, before the show, everyone's crazy. After the show, everyone's crazy. During the show, like, the crowd does not get tired.
Yeah.
I mean, when I'm on my way back to Duluth, I'm, knocked out tired.
Yeah.
But, like, as I'm there, like, I couldn't even imagine being tired.
Yeah.
First, I thought you were explaining Loopy there, Abby, with being crazy, loud, and obnoxious.
Well, I mean,
Shout out to Loopy.
Loopy already knows that, so it's fine.
Yes, for First Wrestling, anytime I explain, when I try to get my friends to go with me, I was like, you're going to love it, because Darren Corbin comes out to an FU chant. They're like, what? I was like, yeah, they literally scream FU Corbin, and then I'm the only guy in the crowd cheering for Corbin, and then people have literally yelled at me to shut up. Well, I know you cheer too, but we know you love Riley more. We've had this discussion. Yeah. But, I feel like I get people yelling at me because I'm cheering on Corbin. It's definitely the place to be. And Amy, Randy, take a shot. If you're listening to this later, I really want the WrestlePalooza ticket for Christmas. So I keep tagging her in the post and then tagging the guys and gals and, like, hey, Amy. So that's 3 shots, Randy. 3.
You gotta get those tickets. They're going to sell out.
I got to remind her again when she gets out of the shower today. So it is my birthday, so I can use that as leverage that I'm pretty, so. And I even told her she doesn't have to go. I just want to go because there's always something that's going to happen there, and I always feel like I'm going to miss something. That's another great thing about First Wrestling.
Yeah, and then you got to wait till the DVD comes out before you can find out all that happened.
Right.
Yep.
They're not live streaming that one. You got to get your DVD.
And that's why I think it's great too is they don't show the card. They'll have the staples. They'll have you, Cannon, Corbin, Devon, and then next thing you know, here comes Vampiro.
Rhino.
Rhino. Yeah, like that's great. So
I don't think I've ever heard a crowd louder than when Arya made his return.
Oh yes,
that
it got to happen right after that, that very first show back. For him.
The roof blew off of the place. It was insane.
That was such a cool Palooza because literally it sold out before we even announced any talent. So they were like, let's just not announce anybody.
Yeah. And it worked. Everyone was buzzing about it. They had of course you always have the people, they don't have a card, so I'm not going to buy a ticket. Well, then you miss out,
Yeah,
when
you
can't
really
complain
do.
after.
Especially that show. That was my very first WrestlePalooza, so it's
that was mine too. So it was crazy. I remember I kind of want to know who's coming, but at the same time I don't. And ever since then, I'm I trust First Wrestling to put on a good show without knowing who's going to be there, without knowing anything, because it can be at the VFW or First Avenue or some outside parking lot somewhere, and it's going to be a good show.
We run shows in the synagogue sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've never seen a first show that's bad.
No, me neither.
I did when Eric Hannon beat Corbin, so I'm true and true, just a diehard Corbin. So yeah, those are my just little plugs just to keep pushing, Darren here. But yeah, what was it that made you get into the wrestling business? Was it like a dare? Did you say oh, this is something I want to do? What got you to that point?
Yeah, again, when I started watching wrestling, it was actually kind of accidental. I'd finished my junior year of college. I just finished up one 6-week internship, and I had a 2-day weekend, and then I was starting my next 6-week internship. And one of the promotions in North Dakota, which no longer exists anymore, was Fully Loaded Wrestling.
Okay, yep.
They were hosting a seminar, just a little wrestling seminar. For $20, you can get in here with the Whirlwind Gentlemen, which was one of their tag teams at the time. Remy Marcel and the other guy's name is Jack. I'm forgetting his last name now. I feel bad. So it was hey, if you drive to Minot, North Dakota, and give us $20, we'll teach you some wrestling moves. And I was I have time for this. So I went. I had my seminar. I really, really liked it. So I was oh, they're having another seminar next month in Fargo. Let me go check that one out. And I checked that one out, and I did not like that one at all. So I was oh boy, maybe this isn't what I want to do. And then they had another one the next month back in Minot, and I got the living shit beat out of me.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh.
Sorry, I know I'm not supposed to swear, but
no, it's when I record at the school, because if I'm there, then they don't hear it. No, I'm at home, so let them fly. Just don't be a sailor.
Yeah, they beat the ever loving crap out of me, and I was oh look, I can take a beating. And I was okay, let's give this wrestling thing a go. But I still had to finish college because I was in my senior year, and if I didn't finish, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be here right now because my parents put me 6 feet under. So I graduated May of 2017. Moved here to Minnesota, started a new job, got my first apartment, and started wrestling training pretty much all within the same month.
Oh wow!
Yeah. And here we are now.
And that was obviously the academy that you started at, correct?
It was, yeah.
Okay. You want to kind of tell us a little bit about that experience, just for people that don't know, about the academy here in Minneapolis area?
Yeah, I'll talk about how it was when I went there. I don't go there anymore.
Okay.
But when I went there, we had a total of 5 trainers. There was Ken Anderson, there was Sean Davari, there was Eric Cannon, Aria Davari, and Molly Holly.
Oh, nice.
Molly didn't stop by very often. She had a very busy outside life, and she hadn't really kept up with wrestling, so she just stopped by every once in a while to just check up on us. And yeah, it was at the time it was 3 days a week. I'd train Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 7 to 9 p.m., which were great because I was working overnights at the time. So I'd literally wake up, go to wrestling, and then go to work.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And did that for about 4 months. It was, the most brutal training I've ever been through. Like, you don't hurt like you do after you wrestle. But I really enjoyed the people that I trained with. Like, Dante was in my class, so it was cool to get to watch him grow. Like, he'd been wrestling before the academy started, but to get to watch him grow and become awesome, and then eventually get signed was really cool.
Right. I know. I'm so proud of those two. Like, it's crazy. And like, I always feel like a little bit piece of my heart because I'm like, I saw them in Duluth so many times, in Minneapolis so many times. Yeah. Now they're on Dynamite and they're wrestling the Bucks. They're wrestling, whoever. It's just
FTR,
so yeah.
Yeah, and you kind of feel like you feel it in your heart because it's like, man, I'm glad that everyone else gets to see how awesome these guys are because we've known for years.
Yes, exactly. Well, that's why they call First Wrestling Minnesota's best kept secret. So
yeah.
And with those guys, they're out. Spoiler, I don't want to throw them out there, but they're always hanging out down there, and they're just so humble, so nice. Darius and Dante, I'll always just say, "Hey, can I get a picture real quick?" And they're like, "Yeah, man." And I'm sure they've seen my ugly mug 1,000 times. Finally, they got the 8x10s and stuff. I was super excited. I got one that Abby got me behind me here. No, I took that one down. Yeah, I took that one down. I had to reset the settings to make it look cool. But yeah, those boys definitely deserve all the success in the world. Huge shout out to those guys. Go ahead, sorry. But
that's good. And then after 4 months of training, I had my first match up at Fully Loaded Wrestling. I've watched it back. It's not good. Don't find it. Don't watch it.
Sorry.
But no one has a perfect first match.
No.
And then, after that, I can't remember when I officially graduated. It was sometime after that, but I graduated at the same time as James Durden, the referee, and Carlos, who traveled from Brazil to come train here. And I think he was part of the first class, and he had to go back to Brazil, and then he came back, and then he graduated with me and Durden.
That's awesome.
So I'm like, this is a good class of graduates right here.
Yeah, 100%. I'm sure you guys all have that close-knit bond too, just from going through all the training together.
Yeah, it's a family that I'm very glad that I have with me.
Right.
It's one of those found family kind of things. You all get to bond over the fact that you're all kind of following your dreams, but it's also learning everyone's outside life. I won't go too far into people's details, but me and Sebastian Taylor became really good friends through wrestling, and I never would have met him if we hadn't crossed paths there.
Right.
You guys were tag team champions together too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
I don't talk about that promotion
yet.
anymore either. Because I don't want to say anything mean, so I don't say anything at all.
We can do that off the air. No, I'm just kidding. So with that being said, now I know you're in the veterinary field, and you are also the first, if you can help me remember there, sorry. Kind of like DMD Britt Baker, you're the first in wrestling.
Certified by the FDA.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
There it is.
Certified.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry, I butchered that.
That's okay. It's all good.
We want to give you the props
just
for
a moniker
being
than anything. I'm not officially USDA certified in real life, but free range Kara definitely is.
Yeah, free range Kara is for sure.
We just want to make sure we get all your plugs in. So
yeah.
Abby, anything else here? I'm just kind of letting you take the lead here. I don't want to like overshadow you here, like I said. So we're gonna work on our grooves, people. I know my buddy Randy, who we talk about all the time on here, he's gonna blow up my Facebook Messenger with all the critiques, but it's all fun and games. That's why we mentioned Amy, so Randy has to take a shot. But go ahead, Abby.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually kind of ask Kara what you asked me the first time I was on the podcast. Okay. Who would be your Mount Rushmore of women's wrestlers? Like your favorites?
That's a good one. That's a really good one. I'd start off with Victoria, Molly Holly, Chyna, and who am I going to put at fourth? Probably Lita.
Okay.
That's who I'd go with. And another case of like a lot of people who were, most of them were in WWE at a time where it wasn't cool to be like a really good wrestler. Mm-hmm. So getting to see them all kind of like break the mold and do their own thing was really awesome.
I love that. Lita was always one of my favorites because I started watching. I remember starting to watch around like 2002 or 3 because I was like 5 or 6. Mm-hmm. And Trish Stratus was like my all-time favorite. But Lita was so cool too, just because she was so different. And those two, whether they were together or fighting or whatever it was, like they always made great television. They always like put their all into it and like, did the best with the time that they were given and the stories that they were given. So it's like I respect them both so much.
Yeah, and they're the inspiration for pretty much every wrestler who's come after them too. Like every female wrestler was like, of course I looked up to Trish and Lita because that was at the point sometimes that was all there was.
Yeah,
but it wasn't just because they were the only two. They were really good at what they did.
Well, especially like with Trish, I mean, she was not a wrestler at all when she was signed, and she like took the time to go and figure out how to be a wrestler, and in my opinion, one of the greatest that there was. So
absolutely.
I'll always put over Trish on anything I'm on.
And like you just said there too, that they were like the only two that a lot of people would look up to. And the nice thing now is that there's so much talent out there that we're going to start hearing even more names when the next batch comes through, And I'm just excited for women's wrestling. It's starting to get a shine. Shout out to First Wrestling. I forgot to mention it earlier. Like you had mentioned, you got to work Hogan, you got to work Valkyrie. Like they're bringing in people for you to help you get to that next level. And that's what I like to see is, it's just not the same person all the time. They're bringing someone in for you to continue to build on your success because they're invested in you. And I know I'm a fan. I will boo because it's Darren Corbin and everybody else, there's a pecking order, but I do respect your craft and what you do. You've always been super great to me every time I come up, ask for, a selfie and stuff. So I do appreciate you coming on here. What does the future hold for you? What are you excited about for 2023? Because this will probably drop around the beginning of January or the end of December. So
okay. Yeah, well, I've got a lot of stuff going on in December. Like the next 2 weeks are about to be crazy. I've got 4 different shows. They're all not in Minnesota.
Oh, geez.
Lots of driving. I go up to Winnipeg. Then 2 days later, I'm in Chicago. And then that next weekend, I'm in Thief. Well, I guess Thief River Falls is technically Minnesota, but it's 5 hours north of here. So it technically counts as out of state.
I wanted to go to that show, and then I like Google mapped it, and I was like, I'm not making that drive. I can't do it. Like, wow.
Yeah, and then I finish it off right before Christmas with Time Bomb in Fargo. So that'll be fun.
For Cannon's birthday bash, right?
Yeah, Cannon's birthday bash.
Yeah.
I'm a PBR for me.
I don't have a lot of stuff like set in stone for 2023. I do have a debut in a new promotion coming up. I'm not going to talk about it yet until they show their poster and announce me. But it's a new promotion in Indiana, so I'm excited to join them.
There you go. Now, if that gets announced,
I have to go to the East Coast now and go fight Brooke Valentine over there.
Yes,
so I'm hoping I get the East Coast bookings.
And then you got Palooza coming up.
Yeah,
I'm assuming you'll be there in some capacity.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll be just helping set up or if I'll be wrestling, but I will be there.
Yeah.
Well, like I was saying there, if that like Indiana promotion comes up before this happens, if you feel free to send us a message, we'll plug that for you. That's one of our goals here at Friends of the Squared Circle is to talk about our friends. Like with Abby, she writes the articles. She's always constantly sharing our stuff, so we share her stuff. With your permission, of course, we will continue to share anything that you feel like you want to share. If there's gear you want to, merch you want to share, or if you have like Ref Clark, he's got the hot sauce promo. I'm more than happy to plug you away because you are a friend of the Squared Circle now. So anything you need us to plug, I'm happy to help. So
you say you have Twitch, right?
Yeah, I do have Twitch.
Oh,
I've got all the social medias. Is this the time of the podcast where I spiel off all my
yeah,
stuff?
we'll start to wrap it up here because I like to keep it under an hour so everybody can continue with their lives. But if you can send me an email too after with all your stuff, I'll make sure to put it out on the internet's there. I'm sorry, I got a phone call. Again, it's my birthday, so everybody's blowing my phone up here. So
Yes,
I'm Mr. Popular. So, but yeah, go ahead and plug those socials and where people can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start off with the more common socials. I've got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. They're all at Free Range Kara. I have a YouTube, Free Range Kara. I'm really bad about uploading, but I'm trying to be better for next year. I have a TikTok at Free Range Kara. Again, working to be better at posting regularly on there. I've got the Twitch channel where I stream pretty much every Saturday, sometimes a Friday, sometimes a Sunday. But I'm mostly playing Pokemon right now because that's the thing you do right now.
That's awesome.
That one's at Free Range Kara. And then I have a website, freerangekara.com, where you can find my merchandise and also has a list of my upcoming shows.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, like I said, if you send me an email with that, we'll make sure to promote you. Twitch, I just started using that because Ref Clark jump in and talk. Yeah. So
I do have one final question.
Yeah.
So what made you change from Kara Noya to Free Range Kara?
Oh yeah, that was I'd kind of gotten to a point with Kara Noya that I didn't really know what the future was looking like for Kara Noya. Like, she wasn't me as a person. Like, we were two very different people, and that works for some people, but it wasn't really clicking for me. I was like, what am I going to do to bring Kara Noya to the next level? And I could not think of anything. So right before the pandemic, I started talking to some people about, hey, do you think this farmer character would be a cool thing? And, I was getting some positive feedback. And then, wouldn't you know, the pandemic hit and I had all this time to just think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, all right, we're going to switch. Because, I'd seen like Danhausen and Warhorse.
Mm-hmm.
I just be very careful when I say Warhorse because I call him Warehouse sometimes. So I just I have to think about it before I say Warhorse. And, watching all these characters come back into wrestling and thinking, wow, I can do that. And I was getting a lot of positive feedback on Free Range Kara. So I was like watching as much there's not a whole lot of farmers in wrestling to look at.
Right.
There's a little bit of Mickey James, a little bit of Hillbilly Jim. I'm sure I'm missing the others, but there's not a lot of people who have done the farmer gimmick. So I was like, this is something that I could make my own. And, unlike a Hillbilly Jim where it's more like, hillbilly-ish, I could be like a more educated, like more modern day farmer. And
there you go.
So far, it's been amazing. Like the last year and a half, 2 years of being Free Range Kara, I feel so much more comfortable doing it. I've heard people backstage saying that I look more comfortable in the ring, and it all translates that I'm having more fun in the ring. And that's what I'm all about, is having fun out there.
I think it fits you so well, especially the do-si-do thing. It's just such a great, just added thing to the match, because a lot of times with women's matches didn't really have a little thing like that. And now, I mean, it's great. It works for anybody. You're do-si-doing Victoria and Billy Starks at Mall of America. So, I mean, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, you always get that, what the hell is happening? And you're just, and you're all in it. It's great. It's just, you're so committed to that. You mentioned the farmer wrestlers, the Godwins. If you ever come out with a slop bucket, there's a good way to get Darren back. So,
all right. Sounds good.
Sorry, Darren.
Getting to do this new farmer gimmick has really opened up for me. One of my favorite moments that's happened was when I wrestled Kiera Hogan and my failed twerk attempt at WrestlePalooza. It's something I'll remember for the rest of my life, is just making a fool of myself in front of people for fun.
But it's so good because everybody loves you for it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll start wrapping this up here. Kara, again, I cannot appreciate you coming on here. Definitely would love to get you on for a part 2. If your husband is willing to come on separate or with you, we'd be happy to have you. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me today.
Thank
Perfect.
you. It was good talking to you.
And like I always like to do is I like to say we're kicking people out of here. If you want to hang out on the lounge for a few seconds, we'll chat after. And then we'll see you next time.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
Right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right, Abby. Again, thank you for coming on to help co-host. I know we were kind of fumbling through there, but we'll get our groove. The questions I loved. So anything you want to plug before we get you out of here?
Yeah, just the usual. Go check out my articles that I write for Women's Wrestling Talk. Actually, tomorrow we're having a meeting to come up with the top 25 women of 2022. So we're going to have that be coming out. I'm going to be doing a couple write-ups on that. Otherwise, you can follow me on Twitter at my first and last name. I do follow back if I see you're a wrestling fan. So that's probably where I'm most active. I'm on Hive now as well. I am on Facebook, but I'm barely on there. Same with Instagram. I'm on Instagram, but I'm barely on there. But feel free to add me or follow me or whatever you want to do.
And I can vouch for that because now I have to remember when I send her a message to send it to Twitter because that's where she's most active.
Yeah, definitely Twitter.
Abby, I can't appreciate you enough. I look forward to more episodes with you on. And thank you for always being a friend of the Squared Circle. We'll chat with you in just a few seconds while I plug these sponsors here.
Sounds good.
All right. There we go. Almost remove myself there. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for watching another episode of Friends of the Squared Circle. And I'm your host, Crander Q, a.k.a. my real name. Again, one more shout out to Darren Corbin there. Give him a like on all social medias, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. Another great way to support Darren is on patreon.com/Darren Corbin. Darren's going through an injury right now, so anything you can do to help, it's greatly appreciated. We love Darren here. Unlike all the other First Wrestling fans there. But also check out Superior Creations there at facebook.com/Superior Creations to get all your custom tumbler needs. And as always, it's your boy Crander Q. Crander Q out.